Hi, Joseph. So here's part 2 of the story of Esther and Seth and their great adventures. So when we left off, Esther and Seth were following the smell and the sound and looking for where it was coming from and what was causing the creek to be so yucky smelling, and it was causing all the forest and stuff to die near it. So they were walking up, and as they were walking, Esther said, "This is such a beautiful place and so strange." And Seth said, mm-hmm. Now it was funny. As they walked, Seth would see everything. His powers of observation were keen. He would see the beautiful, smallest little flower, and he'd see something darting through the sky, and he'd just watch. He was constantly walking very slow because he was looking over here and there and hearing everything. He was in complete wonderment of all that he saw. And he was asked question after question. "Did you see that? What do you think that is? What do you think that means? How do you think that works?" And every time he asked questions, Esther would look and go, "Oh, that probably works like this. And I think it works this way." She had a very analytical mind. She was very smart, and she was thinking very quickly. So it was perfect the way that the two of them worked together. He would ask all the questions and catch every little thing. And as she would focus in on one thing, she'd automatically think of why it worked the way it did and how it must fit in the forest with the other animals and plants. Little did she know, she was actually quite close to the right answer on how things worked and why they did. She was a very intelligent girl. And Seth, as I said, he was just captured by all the colors and sights and smells and sounds. And so as they were walking, they continued to talk. And Seth said, "I'm getting a little bit hungry." And Esther looked at him and said, "Well, that's odd. I'm not really hungry. Are you hungry?" And he said, "Well, it's not that I'm hungry. I just kind of want to, I want to eat something tasty. I don't know." And she said, "Well, I don't know what's safe to eat around here, and I'm not sure if there is anything safe." He said, Oh, there's lots of things that are safe to eat." She said, "How do you know?" And he said, "Well, it's hard for me to explain it to you, but when I wanted something tasty to eat, I just thought about it, and all of a sudden, it was like this voice said, 'Food's over here.' And I followed where the voice told me to go, and there was food." And she said, "But you don't know it was safe to eat." And he said, "Well, when I looked at it, the word tasty popped in my head. And so I tasted it, and it was tasty. It was good." And she said, "Has this voice talked to you before?" Again, she started putting pieces together. She started wondering if the voice was safe or not. And he said, "Well, yeah. When I was walking up to one tree, it said, 'Stop, go away.' And I stopped and I walked away from the tree." She said, "What did it say when you came near the water? Because you were by the water before I got there." He said, I forgot to tell you about that. Funny, the voice in my head said, 'Help.'" "Help?" He said, "Yeah, it said help. And then I saw the water dark the way and stinky it was, and then it became clean." And I said, "Help? I can't help you clean the water. I need your help." And then, she said, "Well, what?" He said, "And then you appeared." She said, "You asked for help and then I appeared?" He said, "Yeah, I said I needed help to clean the water, and I couldn't do it by myself. It was too big of a job for little me. And then you came up." "And what happened next?" He said, "Well, when you came up, all of a sudden I was thinking, is she okay? And then I heard the voice in my head again. It said, 'Your friend will help.' And so that's when I came out and I started talking to you, and I knew it would be okay." She said, And then as they looked around, they saw something that they didn't even notice just a moment before. So caught up in their conversation while they walked, they didn't even notice that the sound had gone away, but the smell, it had gotten much stronger. There was no more babbling or gurgling, and they looked around, and they could see signs of the destruction even closer to them. They thought they were pretty far away from the creek. Esther immediately grabbed Seth's hand and said, "We have to check this out." And they started running towards the creek all the while with their shirt over their face. And they carried some extra flowers just in case to keep them from gagging on the smell. Well, they didn't have to run very far. The destruction had spread way further than it had been earlier. And they found out why the destruction was further and why the smell was so powerful. The creek had merged with the river. And now, instead of it being a little bitty creek that they could almost hop over, it was a river that they could take. They would need a boat to cross. And it wasn't raging. It was a very calm, slow-running river, which is why they couldn't hear it. But, oh, it was stinky. And so they looked at the river, and they looked around and said, wow, see, this is what I need your help with. And Esther was thinking, she said, I don't know what to do. Can we do this? And all of a sudden, Seth said, he says yes, we can do it. He said, I could do it by myself if I believed, but since I said I needed help, he got me help. Wait a second, Seth, you mean he heard my question in my head? Seth said, yeah, you could hear him too if you weren't thinking so much. But it's a good thing you think so much because that's going to help us. But, you know, my mom told me that God talks to us all the time. It's just that we're thinking so much we can't hear him. He hears us all the time, but we can't hear him. Seth, do you think it's God talking to you? Well, I don't know. But he sure is powerful, and he helps keep things nice here. So it might be, don't know, but I do know when I just listen, he talks. And maybe you could do it too, but don't do it yet because we need you thinking. So she said, well, in that case, you need to help me. Let's get away from the river because it stinks too bad. And so they walked away from the river, and she said in her head, okay, how can we help you? And Seth said, wow, that just made a bunch of pictures pop in my head. I just saw this guy, he's standing up on the hill, he's got his arms up and his legs open, he's standing on the hill, and one half of him is completely gold, and just complete energy, just whoop, 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 whoop. And then the other side is like yucky stuff going through him. And the yucky stuff is going right down out of his foot into water that's making all the water yucky. The other side is going into the earth and it's keeping all the plants green. She said, you got all of that from that one question? Yeah, he talks in pictures. Sometimes words, but mostly pictures. Okay, well let's see what happens when I ask this question. What do we do exactly? Said, he needs our help to stop the yucky stuff from going through and make only clean stuff go through. Was doing an experiment and don't understand, but I think it means he got stuck and he needs help. Wow, that was a lot. She said, Seth, you're sweating. Oh, well, I'm okay, but I can feel he's working really hard. I don't know if he can keep up at it for a lot longer. And it sounds like he said if he gets too tired, it's only going to be the yucky stuff, no more of the good stuff. She said, well, it looks like we need to help him. Yeah, but I still want the tasties first. I can't believe you want to get food now. You're not even hungry. But I want to eat something. Well, do you know where even to go to get the good stuff? He said, yeah, follow me. And off they went. And they were running. I'll tell you what. It was amazing. They didn't get tired at all. Little Seth looked like he was a leopard, compact, jumping from bush to bush over the tree branches, rolling when he tripped a little bit, but never stopping, and not breaking a sweat or even getting tired. And right behind him, Esther was following. She was almost like a doe, jumping over everything. They could jump higher than they had ever jumped before. It was almost as if the laws of gravity didn't even apply when they really put their minds to doing what they wanted to do. As they ran further into the woods, she got a little bit worried as she saw ahead there was bushes and trees that looked like weeping willows. The branches were falling down all the way to the ground and she couldn't see past them. But Seth didn't even break stride. He ran and he went, woohoo! And dove right into the bushes and flew. Well, I'll tell you what happens next when I start